Good afternoon, good evening, fine people of the internet. Thank you all for coming very much. Appreciate it a bunch. So, yep. Yep. Thank you all, and, so yeah, sorry for all the confusion in the lead up to this. Was, rather questionable if we had to do this stream at all, but we, managed somehow. Somehow managed to, pull it all together. Still a few, strange little issues here and there, but I can fix them as we go. So, here we are, second stream, Hanako route. Most likely everyone's, if not favorite waifu, then probably second favorite. A lot of people love this girl for a very good reason. Very lovable character. And I'm looking forward to reading this. I'm sure the rest of my lovely cast is as well. Right? And, dumbass, I forgot to put audio capture on. You've all been silent for the last 2 minutes. Yeah. I wasn't lying when I said setting up for the stream was absolute chaos, but we'll make it work somehow. Alright, so quick greetings, Dokuro, Brother T-Bird, Go Tanks. Welcome to the stream, all of you. Pleasure to see y'all. So, would the cast like to introduce themselves real quick?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Yusho. I'm everybody's favorite demi-head VTuber hero. Yushu-kun. I'm playing the part of Nakai Hisao today.
Yep. Just like he did last time. So, if you were here for the first stream of this, you'll recognize all of these fine people, as I'm sure you're aware, but onwards and upwards. Unfortunately, Fugitech isn't working, so there's not really any good indication to show who's playing who, so Yusha is directly to my left at the moment. So,
that's me.
Yep. So, I guess we'll go in reverse order then. So, after him, going from right to left is...
Alright, that's you.
Oh god, sorry,
Yes.
I did new clip for a sec. Sorry. So welcome everybody, mine's Ada Wilcott. I'm a sheepdog from Heart of Wales, and I'll be playing Lily.
Yep. Very,
You have to do the dun part.
Oh god, I forgot the last one. Oh my god.
It's, still appreciate the enthusiasm, it's alright. We can recover from that. So, yes. Lily, technically we're not playing Lily's route, but in a lot of ways it might as well be. Lily and Hanako are a combo package in this game, as anybody who's played this game already knows. Very important characters in each other's roots, so had to have her on.
Yeah.
Which, of course, brings us to...
Yes, hello, my name is Freya Sesteline. Wait, no! Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun! My name is Freya Sesteline. I'm a playing doctor, and I will be playing Hanako Ikezawa. I love her very much. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
Yes, as we all do, as we all do. So yeah, you can tell why I had her play her. Just from right there, you should be able to tell. Anyways, obviously that leaves one last one. That would be me, the stream host, Cliff McConnor, musician, bounty hunter, soon-to-be general, musician, person who drinks a bunch. Not right now, though. Not that you can tell. But, yes, obviously you can tell. Stream's taking place on my channel. I'm hosting it, so of course. So, yes, thank you for coming. Obviously this isn't the entire cast, but this being an actual proper route, there are characters who don't show up at all, characters who have minor roles that I have pre-recorded voice lines for. It's just, again, that first stream was a bit of a scheduling nightmare, so... To say nothing of the fact that it took place on a weekday, so it was kind of hard to coordinate. So, of course, I decided, yeah, maybe I shouldn't do that again. Shouldn't put everybody through that sort of headache.
You forgot the second dun-dun-dun-dun.
Son of a bitch. Da-da-da-da-da-da. There we
Hold
go.
on, something changed there.
Yeah. Yeah, something changed. my realization that I'm a rather silly person. Anyways, so, last thing done. So, that said, we won't be starting at the very start of the route. We'll actually be backtracking a bit. We'll be starting from the first scene before the route begins, which is the festival. The very important choose your girl sort of scene. We got the manly picnic out of the way first stream, so now we actually get to spend time with a girl. Ain't we lucky?
Ew.
A woman? Ugh.
A female.
Gross.
What?
Yep. It's it is what it is. Anyway, so without further ado, let's go ahead and start from this state. That was it. That's right. This state will come in handy later when we do Lily, but for right now, we're doing Hanako today. So we start from this scene. 3, 2, 1, launch out. Let's see. I don't think I'm gonna read through any of this. This is all should be read. First stream. If you want to hear this, the VOD for the first stream should be up on my channel already, so you can go watch that. Skip to the last, 30 minutes or so. And once I get to the proper line... There we go. Let's see. Bring up the folder, please. Why isn't it bringing up the folder? I kind of need that folder. Minor technical hookup. Please don't mind us. There we go. Alright. Suppose we'll start from that line. Why not?
No, I can't do it. Don't let me alive out there. I know it. No, I can't do it.
Whoops.
Don't let me alive.
Yeah, kind of starting scuff here, but it is what it is. Alright.
I don't know.
Yep.
I'm pretty hungry, so I thought I'd get some food first and then check out the attractions.
I have you a bit quiet. Can you read that again?
Yeah, 1 second. Let me see. How's this?
Much better, much better. Thank you.
Alright, cool. I don't know. I'm pretty hungry, so I thought I'd get some food first and then check out the attractions. Your class project seemed pretty cool, and I gave a hand with it, so I want to see at least that one and chat with Lily, I guess. Speaking of that, don't you have any obligation for the project?
Are you out of your mind? That blind broad is up to no good. I can feel it in my spleen, man. Her presence is like a dark shadow that's in the way of my great vision. As expected of blind people. Are you out of your mind?
What? Besides, I thought that you were also...
He holds up his hand to interrupt me. Once I find it. There we go.
Only legally. Metaphorically, I can see farther than any man before me has seen.
Kenji looks stoically into the metaphorical distance to emphasize his statement, thrusting his chin forward to look manlier. Actually, it's just a corner wall 2 meters away, but it's all the same.
I can see the future of mankind, and it's a dark one unless the threat of women is stifled. They are everywhere.
He fingers a scarf nervously, faster and faster like he's trying to start a fire, then slowly begins to calm down once the panic attack finishes running its course.
What are you gonna do? We should hang out here. You can help me build my fort.
That's right, he mislabeled that. Silly me. Anyways, proper line.
I'm going to have to find some safe place to hide in. A safe haven. And then knock the lights out of myself so I don't have to experience this horrible day. I have the perfect thing for that. I must prepare now. Don't go to the festival.
Okay.
Later, dude.
The door slowly closes with a low creak, and I don't know how I feel about what Kenji just said. After buying a plastic plate of takoyaki from a stall belonging to the class next to ours, I take a seat in the school gardens and watch people pass as I tentatively nibble away at the rather bland-tasting item. I guess I shouldn't complain, it's better than nothing and didn't cost much. As I look out towards the school, watching the people coming and going proves a surprisingly entertaining way of passing the time as I eat. Little children accompanied by parents or grandparents scamper about in the din from event to event. One hand dragging their company, and the other bearing an oversized, colorful snack. I can't help but notice the age range among people here is skewed towards the elderly, something that I'd also noticed when I was walking around town. Especially one of those towns where the only people left are those that have lived here their whole lives and ardently refuse to leave, and those wanting to live out the rest of their days in one of the increasingly few tranquil places. I guess it also goes a way to explaining how conservative Yamaku's school culture seems to be. Not that I minded it. I kind of like how calm Yamaku and its surroundings are. The heat, though, is another matter entirely. Sitting in one place for so long has focused my mind on how annoying and humid it's getting, now that the hottest part of the day is here. I better get moving. Ah! The sound of the Carillion bells takes me completely by surprise as I stand up, a reaction shared by a few of those people strolling around as well. The PA system crackles to life after the tolling bells end. Its age shows as the principal makes a barely intelligible announcement over it, officially opening the festival that's very much in full swing. It's quite amusing to contrast the pleasant smiles of the older folk against the alternatively pained and bored grimaces of their younger charges. The students, on the other hand, seem to pay little heed. Nevertheless, as the address finally ends, all are united in polite, if not overly enthusiastic, applause, and then get back to business. Slipping a hand in my pocket to look as relaxed as possible, I casually glance around for something to do. It's somewhat difficult to see very far with all the people around. I decide to fall back on a tried and trusted rule: go where everyone else seems to be gathering. Right now, that's the school courtyard and its surroundings. Throwing the used plate into a trash can, I make my way towards a school building. Seeing the number of stalls around the perimeter of the school building surprises me. Quite a few of the classes must have opted to have multiple stalls. In deciding which to visit first, I catch sight of a familiar banner with a blue pattern border and red text. Lily Stalls is good a place to start as any. I'm curious as to how it's going, after all the work she and her class have been doing for it. Stepping up to it, I begin to see why the class took so long to organize everything. Easily twice as wide as many of the other stalls, and with equipment for cooking strewn everywhere, it's closer to an outdoor restaurant than a festival event. As a student in front of me takes a bowl of noodles and leaves, I walk up to the counter. The girl behind it seems quite exasperated and asks me to wait a moment before she disappears underneath the counter. Seizing the moment, I take a quick glance around. It seems to be rising from everywhere as pots and pans simmer away. The most blind of the students are unpacking ingredients while being helped by someone who's probably the teacher of 3-2. It doesn't take us long to notice Lily among them, talking with the teacher as she quickly counts out the boxes and packets with her fingers. From her expression and the fact it seems both she and the teacher seem to be in a state of mild confusion, it appears that there's been some problem in coordination. Before I can stare any longer, the girl behind the counter pops up again, a little look back, and asks where the spare change box is. Lily pauses for a moment before she and the girl switch places at the counter and the teacher quickly walks off somewhere.
Sorry about that. We're having a few problems. What would you like?
It takes me a second to remember what I'd come here for. My eyes quickly dart to the side to read the menu sitting on the counter.
Oh, I guess some miso soup?
Oh, is that Hisao?
Yep, looks like you're pretty busy.
Her face all but confirms as she drops her waitress facade. Thanks for pointing that out, T-Bird. If it's only her, though, yeah. Yeah, just bear
Oh god, oh
with
fuck,
it.
she's behind me.
Yeah,
Here I come.
clones.
No.
Just don't look back. Just don't look back.
Pay her no mind, pay her no mind.
Let's get it.
The rest of the clones will show up later. Hopefully. Anyways, her face all but confirms it as she drops her waitress facade.
Somewhere on the line, our order got mixed up. We're trying to fix it now, but it looks like we only have half of what we needed.
Wouldn't serving smaller portions cover over the problem?
It seems like that. Sorry.
It's alright.
Seems like that's what we'll have to do, though. I wish we didn't. The fact that a good half of our class is gone doesn't help either.
I glance behind her to see how many people are actually operating the stall. It couldn't be over about 8.
I take it that's why your teacher left.
That's right. She's going to try to round up a few more of our classmates to help.
Hearing the sound of footsteps behind me, I stealthily glance backwards to see an elderly couple taking a place on the line. I guess I better stop loitering around and chatting.
Here's the money for the soup.
Soup. Oh, right. Coming right up.
Lily turns and calls for a bowl of miso soup as I hand over the money for it. Taking the coins in her palm, I can't help but notice how efficiently she counts them out with her long, pale fingers. Eventually satisfied that I've handed over correct change, she puts it into a small metal tray. It isn't long before the soup is made and carefully handed to her, after which she turns and subsequently passes it to me.
Thanks, I'll come back to drop off the bowl.
Thank you, Hisao. Oh, there is one other thing. Have you seen Hanako?
Hanako. No, not today. Why?
She gives a small sigh of abject disappointment.
It's okay. I was just wondering what she was doing for the festival. You'll come back when you're done, then?
Sure. I'll keep an eye out for Hanako, too.
Thank you, Hisao.
I walk out from the stall and find a seat, carefully cradling the steaming wooden bowl in both hands. Compared to the dumplings from before, this is quite nice. A little cool compared to what it probably should be, perhaps, but the flavor is enough to cover for that reasonably well. As I drink, I can't help but feel somewhat guilty for not being as involved with the festival as others. I can't really be helped considering I was dropped into school only a week ago, but it still weighs heavily on my mind. That and the fact that a few students don't really seem to be enjoying the festival as much as the visitors. Eventually, I finish my bowl and leave for the stall to drop it off. Considering that there seems to be no line at all, I take my time walking up. It seems the teacher's mission paid off. There are now over a dozen students helping, and much of the unpacking has been done. Despite most of them seeming quite relaxed as they work, Lily still appears to be rather stressed. Lily still appears to be somewhat stressed. She doesn't look impressed at all, and I can't really blame her. On top of her issues with her stall, she still seems to be worried about Hanako. I can't really help her with the former, so I guess the only way I can help is by trying to take her mind off our shy mutual friend. Placing the bowl back onto the counter, I call out to Lily.
Hey, Lily, don't worry about Hanako. I'll go find her and hang out with her, okay?
I can see Lily's relief plainly written across her face.
Hisao. And if you see anyone from my class, can you tell them to come back here, please?
Will do. Have a good one, and make sure you take a break, okay?
I will if I can. See you later, Hisao.
I leave Lily in the stall and head out in search of Hanako. In a way, I feel bad for leaving her with the crowds, but even though she was clearly under pressure, I can't help but think that she's enjoying herself. The halls are packed with swaying crowds meandering throughout the festival. If there's one thing I know about Hanako, it's that she's not going to be anywhere near this. And with the students showing their friends and family at the dorms, I doubt she'll be there either. Following blind intuition, I move against the grain of the crowd. Thankfully, the crowd seems to be slightly less festive than your usual festival crowd. I assume this is out of consideration for the student body. As I force my way through the masses, it doesn't take long for them to thin down, blah, 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 blah. This isn't surprising, since I'm standing before the library. Even the most eager students don't bother to show anyone in this section of the school. As I enter the library, the noise of the festival fades into a dull background noise, and soon I'm in the reading area at the rear of the room. Behind one of the partition desks, I see the top of a head with a straight dark hair catching my eye.
Hey, Hanako. I had a feeling I'd find you here.
The head jumps a little in shock before slowly peeping over the partition.
Hisao?
Hey, Lily's pretty busy, so she sent me to find you.
Oh, do you want to sit down?
Actually, I'm feeling a little hungry. Would you like to get something to eat from one of the stands?
I brought some food, so...
I shouldn't be surprised, but it was worth a try. Expecting her to go outside today was a long shot.
How about we eat in the tea room? I passed by on the way here and no one was around. We can make some food there and it'll be a little more comfortable. What do you say?
Sure. Let's go.
Hanako closes her book and puts it away with deliberate practice movements.
Good to go?
Yeah.
We walk side by side from the library to the tea room. As expected, there's barely a soul around. If it weren't for the murmurs from the walls, you wouldn't tell there was a huge festival going on inside. Hanako carries her bag in both hands and focuses on just the floor ahead of her. Every now and again, she seems to break her pace a little and steps in slightly shorter paces. The first time it happened, I gave it no mind, but I soon noticed that she does it on a regular basis.
You alright?
She stops dead in her tracks.
What?
I don't know. It looked like you were tripping or something.
A pink blush rises into her cheeks as her gaze returns to the floor.
It's nothing.
You know, when you say nothing like that, people are inspired to ask further questions.
For a second, I don't think she's going to answer. Prepared to leave it be, I almost set off walking again, when...
It's a game.
Game?
Do you see the floor here?
What a bizarre question. The floor looks like just any other floor, covered in those tiles made up of squares of linoleum. Nothing noteworthy.
Well, yes. What about it?
Sometimes, when there's no one around, I only step on the darker ones.
Hanako's voice trails off as her explanation continues until I can barely hear her voice over the roaring silence of the empty hall.
Darker ones?
Shuffling her feet, Hanako points the toe of her shoe at a tile that's barely a shade darker than the others.
Like these ones.
Oh, right, so these ones are no good.
I point out a nearby tile.
Yeah, something like that.
Oh, I see. Do you play this game a lot?
Hanako shakes her head.
Just when the halls are empty?
She nods.
Well then, no point in stopping. I'm beginning to get really hungry.
She nods again, this time with a little more enthusiasm.
Well then, let's go.
We set off down the hall, and this time I notice that Hanako's paying a little less attention to the floor. I wonder, just how lonely does someone have to be to come up with a game like that? But before I realize what I'm doing, I find myself trying to aim each step so it lands on the correct tiles. The noise of the festival is slightly louder inside the tea room, but the breeze coming through the open window makes it worth it. Without thinking, I walk to the windowsill and inhale deeply. I sometimes forget how clean the air is here compared to back home.
Would you like some tea?
That'd be great, thanks.
It occurs to me that this is the first time I've been alone with Hanako without her trying to be somewhere else. Turning from the window, I watch as she makes a simple pot of tea and arranges some sandwiches onto a plate. I've seen her do this before a number of times, but this time she seems slightly different. It's like she's... calm. Eventually, she places a small tray on the table and pours 2 cups of tea. The fresh scent of brewed tea mingles with the breeze, and for a second I feel like I'm the only one in the world.
I think I know why you like this room now.
I don't know what you mean.
Well, there are quite a few people out there, but in here, it's like another world. You can pretend that there's no one around for miles.
You're right. It's like the world has forgotten this room. And because of that, you can forget about the outside.
That would be appealing in some cases. As far as I can tell, conventional bullying doesn't exist in this school. But then again, I haven't seen a single person talk to Hanako besides Lily. If you're ignored by the world, a place where you can forget its existence would hold a special appeal.
That's a good point. It's like this room gives you some kind of complete freedom.
Yeah. Say, do you play chess?
Chess? I've played it a bit, I guess. I take it you've played before?
A little.
Without saying anything more, Hanako moves to one of the cupboards and digs out a small chess set.
Do you want?
Sure, why not?
I cut her off, but she doesn't seem to mind it. We arrange the pieces, and before long, we're sending pawns charging to their inevitable fates. I take my time and intently examine each move and its consequences, nostalgia for the game taking second place to the matters at hand. For a time, the game is a lengthy battle of attrition, but I spot an opening and tear a line in her defense. A few moves later, her king is cornered by several of my pieces.
Checkmate. You're not bad at this, are you?
An honest appraisal. Her technique is pretty good, but several times I was able to exploit her lack of prediction. I pick up a piece and examine it. It looks relatively new, yet worn for its age.
I guess not.
Does Lily play?
The absence of Hanako's answer causes me to think about my question.
A bit. This isn't the first time I've played against someone other than her,
Or... She cuts herself off abruptly, leaving the answer hanging in the air. Someone she knew before coming to Yamaku, maybe.
Well then, I'm honored to have played against you.
Can we play again?
She asked as if She asked as if she were asking me to cut off my own hands. The spirit of competition's gotten into her?
Sure. Though, don't expect me to go easy on you this time.
Not that I was before, mind. She seems to appreciate the competitive tone.
Same here.
As we're setting up the pieces, there's a noise at the door.
Yeah, sorry, I was watching the main stream and it was lagging really hard. Sorry. Good afternoon.
Lily.
Oh, hey there, Lily. Are you finished?
You both are here? Wonderful. At any rate, our teacher managed to round up some extra help, so I was able to leave. Have you been here since you left?
Pretty much. We've just been playing a bit of chess.
Would you like a cup of tea?
Really, I think it may be a good idea to go outside for a little while.
The instant drop in Hanako's face shows her objection to this plan, even though she says nothing. I feel strangely compelled to voice what's plainly in view on her face, but Lily can't see.
I kind of think that we should just stay here.
Really? It's so crowded here, I was thinking we should leave the school and head for the local tea house.
You mean the Shanghai?
Of course. With everyone at the festival, it should be practically empty.
Tea house?
Oh, that's right. You probably don't know of it. There's a tea house not far from here, which we go to every so often.
Sounds like a plan. Hanako, what do you think?
Hanako jumps a little at being forced into the conversation, but at least she seems less distraught than before.
If it's the Shanghai, I think it'll be nice.
Well, then it's settled. Let's be on our way, shall we?
Hanako and I rise from the table in our preempted chess game. Before I can do anything, Hanako's poured the piece into a small container and placed the board away.
Looks like we're ready now. Please, lead on.
Hanako moves to Lily's side and we venture out into the school's corridors. The pair leads me through a series of unfamiliar doors and we emerge on the side of the building opposite of the festival grounds. Insulated by a heavy stone of the building, the noise from the crowd has faded to a murmur.
Strange. I thought that most people would be beginning to leave by now.
probably here to view the fireworks.
Fireworks?
Yes. Apparently the school puts on quite a show. A lot of people come from town just to watch them.
Well, this decision to leave the school ground seems to make sense now. Hanako would probably have a hard time with the whole town descending onto the school. Or ascending, as the case may be. For the second time since arriving at Yamaku, I find myself walking down this road with Lily. Only now that I can barely hear the incessant noise of the festival do I realize how loud it was. I can hear my ears ringing slightly in the still evening air as they recover from the day's assault on them. Hanako clings to Lily, but still manages to guide her along the road. That, and avoiding the occasional gaze from curious pedestrians, appears to completely sap her constitution. She rarely raises her focus from the ground in front of her, nor does she utter a word. Lily, on the other hand, maintains her prim and proper persona just as she does in school. It's obvious she purposely puts effort into her appearance rather than hiding as Hanako does. It's striking how different they are in their way of holding themselves outside of Yamaku's grounds. That said, it's obvious in both of their cases that they do visibly change. Inside Yamaku, everyone is special, which negates the specialness of it. But once we venture outside the school gates, we're returned to the status of outsider and generic labels. Especially when we're still in school uniform. It's like hanging a sign around your neck, challenging people to figure out what's wrong with you. I'm surprised that so many of the students keep it on. Then again, with canes and wheelchairs common among the students, I guess it's not really that much of a giveaway. Or maybe I'm the only one that sees that as a stigma? Maybe I get used to it after a time, like any other school uniform. The tea house seems fairly standard from the outside, just an ordinary building with typical signs decorating the entrance. It looks like the type of place you'd walk by without a thought, just another generic cafe in a sea of thousands. If Hanako hadn't steered Lily into the entrance, I would have continued on down the road without ever knowing that it existed. Inside, the tea house takes on a more traditional feel. Everything seems to have been made from the same lump of timber, from the counter and benches to the high-backed booths and around the walls. But the most striking feature of the room is the lack of life. I think I can faintly hear something bubbling away in the background, but otherwise, the room is silent. Without any direction, we simply wait near the entrance, politely obeying the "please wait to be seated" sign.
Is this place closed or something?
The sound of a chair falling over echoes through the empty room, and a head shoots up from inside a booth.
I wasn't asleep, and welcome to the Shanghai.
Yuko, dressed in a pastel apron and clutching a menu, rushes to greet us. Her misaligned glasses and ruffled hair cast suspicion on her previous statement. But whether she was asleep or not isn't the first question that leaps to my mind.
You work here now? What happened to the library?
What? Lily? Hisao? Welcome to the Shanghai.
Yuko, still waking up, jerks into a violent bow, dislodging her glasses in the process.
My glasses.
As I pick her spectacles up off the floor, Lily offers an explanation.
Yuko works here part-time as well as at the library. It's one of the reasons we like to come here.
Yuko takes her glasses from my hands, shakily putting them back on.
Yes, that's right. Thanks. Shall I show you to your table? There's no one else here, so you can choose your table and order whatever you like. But there may be a delay as I will have to make it myself.
Alright, Yuko. Just a pot of black tea and a plate of sandwiches will be fine.
Right, I'll get right onto that.
Yuko hurries off to the back of the cafe, leaving us standing still at the entrance. She pushes the swinging half doors open before realizing that she hasn't seated us.
I'm sorry, please, sit wherever you'd like. I'll be right back.
Following her advice, I lead Lily to the nearest booth as Hanako follows. As I begin to sit next to Lily, I realize how appropriate this place is for Hanako. The high-backed booths totally separate you from the rest of the room, and it doesn't look like it gets all that many customers. All the furnishings, from the cushions on the benches to the condiment holders, look dated but aren't overly worn. I wonder if Lily deliberately selects this place like this to take Hanako. She seems like the type that would go to lengths to get her to Hanako's unique predicament.
Oh, Hisao. I didn't know you played chess.
Well, not very well, but I do know how to play.
I suppose the obvious question would now be, who won?
Lily's innocent smile makes me hesitate. I don't really want to look like I'm lording my victory over Hanako.
He sounded.
Yes, but not by much?
Damn, saying that out loud makes me feel like I've done something terrible.
Well done, Hisao. You've accomplished something I've God.
Catch your
Well
breath.
done, Hisao. You've accomplished something I've only ever failed at.
Thanks. I haven't played in ages, so it felt good to play again.
Yes, it did.
Hanako fidgets with her hair a little and looks away as she replies, but a small smile emerges. It's a little more extreme of a reaction than I expected, but still kind of cute in that Hanako way. It throws me a little off guard, and only Yuko's cataclysmic re-entry shocks me back into the conversation.
Are you alright there, Yuko? Do you need a hand?
I'm fine. I have to do this properly. It's my job.
Concentration plays across her face while she stares at the tray in her hands, as if simply looking at its contents will hold them in place. Sadly, this doesn't prove all that effective. The cups and saucers slowly dance around, occasionally clattering as they collide with one another. Taking great care, Yuko sets the tray down on the table with only the subtlest of crashes.
There. See?
Well done.
Thank you, Yuko.
Yuko's head rockets downward in her distinctive bow before answering.
You're very welcome.
Would you like to join us? There's something else I'd like to discuss about that recent order, if I may.
That's right. Lily and Yuko were discussing a pile of books when I first met Hanako. Something about Lily helping with the Braille.
Yes. We didn't get the chance to go through them, did we?
Yuko hastily sits down next to Hanako. Apparently her dedication to this job only goes as far as her concentration. Once it's broken, she suddenly loses it.
I'll be in the library tomorrow afternoon if you'd like to try again.
That sounds perfect. I'll meet you there after classes.
Lily.
Oh dear, that's right. Tomorrow's Monday. How could I have forgotten?
I'm starting to feel a little left out of the loop here. Then again, that's to be expected. I have been here for barely a week, so it's impossible to know everyone's schedule.
Well, perhaps we become... perhaps we become... Oh god, sorry, I keep stuttering, I'm really nervous.
Deep breaths, deep breaths.
Okay, whew. Well, perhaps we could come to some other arrangement. Yuko, will you be in the library later in the week?
Maybe, but this is already overdue. And there are some things I need.
This might be a problem.
Lily ponders for a second before discovering the answer.
I wonder. Might we be able to enlist the help of another, if need be?
To do what? You lost me quite some time ago.
Being volunteer for something without even having the slightest idea what's going on isn't really my thing. And here I thought I'd finally escape the clutches of the student council and their repeated attempts to recruit me.
Oh, of course. The other day, I was helping Yuko sort the new Braille books in the library. But Hanako and I usually go shopping on Monday afternoons. It's quieter on that day than on weekends. Last week, we couldn't go because I was busy with the festival. I managed to slip away later in the week, but Hanako couldn't make it.
Well, since I can't read Braille, I'm assuming you'd like me to go shopping with Hanako?
Correct. You were a great help to me the other day.
I think I can handle that. Hanako, what do you think?
If you wouldn't mind.
Of course not. I'm still not familiar with all the stores in the area, so it sounds like a good idea.
Okay.
Now that we have that arranged, shall we have some tea?
It's now that I realize our tea's been sitting idly by all this time, getting no hotter.
It's my fault. Let me pour that for you.
Yuko reaches out with shaking hands, but I intercept her. She looks in no state to be handling hot liquids.
Alright, I've got it. Since you've already made the tea and sandwiches, you've fulfilled your waitress duties, right?
I guess.
Yuko relaxes a little, but still watches eagerly as I share out the assortment. As I'm about to bite into the sandwich, a low, loud rumble can be heard, along with a flash of light from outside.
Ah, I take it the show has started.
Only now looking outside, I realize that dusk has come and gone, leaving us in the peak of twilight. Sparking tracers arc upwards, ready to explode in the floral shapes of fireworks.
Let's go watch. Oh, sorry, Lily.
Please, don't please, don't miss this show on my account. From what I've heard, this isn't a bad location to watch them from.
With the exception of Lily, we rush to the window of the small tea house to watch the show. The strobe of colored lights plays across Hanako and Yuko's smiling faces, and for a second I forget to look out the window. In this totally new world, there are a few things that don't change. I think that's why the school makes such a fuss over the festival. It's a chance to show the similarities between everyone. The show's over all too quickly. Fireworks are expensive, even for the most well-funded schools. Before we return to our tea and sandwiches, Hanako turns to me.
Thanks for today. And tomorrow.
That's okay. I don't think that I could have faced those crowds either. On days like this, it's more relaxing to spend some time away from everyone, don't you think?
Yeah.
Anyway, we've been delaying this tea for far too long now. Let's get back.
Sure.
We return to the booth and our light meal.
That sounded impressive. Bigger than last year's, at least.
Yeah, it was great. I've never seen them put on such a show. It gets better every year.
I'm afraid, however, that during that time, the tea has gone cold.
Oh no! Let me make some more. This is my fault.
Calm down, Yuko. It's nobody's fault.
I take it from my cup, just to prove the point.
This tea isn't too bad cool anyway. It's like nice tea.
Really?
Yes, really. If you add a bit of sugar, it's kinda nice.
Are you sure?
I'm positive. Now, why don't you sit down and we'll finish this together?
Oh, okay.
Yuko doesn't seem convinced, but sits down regardless. She carefully measures out about 5 teaspoons of sugar and adds them to her tea.
I said a bit of sugar.
I know, but I like my tea sweet anyway.
Curiously, I peer into her cup. As expected, hardly any of the sugar dissolves in the cold liquid. She stirs it twice before upturning the cup and drinking the contents, sugar and all in a single mouthful.
You're right. That's not bad at all.
Good?
I look back to Lily and Hanako, both of whom have finished their meal as I witness Yuko's personality in action. Not wanting to hold anyone up, I use her tactic and finish the remainder of my tea in a single swill.
Well then, it seems we're all finished.
Do we head back now, or do we want seconds?
Yuko's expression shows that this is quite clearly not a good idea.
I think that would be best if we got back soon. We do have to get back before curfew, after all.
Oh, that is a good point. I'll meet you tomorrow, Yuko.
I'll be looking forward to it, Lily. Goodbye, everyone.
We make our way out of the small tea house and into the dark of night. Lily and Hanako once again take point, but under the cover of darkness, Hanako seems slightly less stressed than she did on the trip over here. We move against the occasional group of people emptying the school grounds, but Hanako seems to lead us along for a few minor roads, avoiding the bulk of the crowd. Outside of the dorms, the school seems strangely quiet when compared to the noise of the day.
Well then, thank you both for today. I think I learned a lot.
You're most welcome, but I'm afraid I really must be going. Today's been a long day after all.
That's right, Lily spent all of today on her feet, and I can imagine that walking outside of the school would be pretty tiring for her. I feel a pang of guilt as I remember that I was probably the only one in the school that got up around 10 this morning.
Sure thing. Well, I'll see you both tomorrow. Good night.
Night, Giselle.
Night.
The girls returned to their dorm and I to mine. Actually, now that I consider it, today tired me out as well. And opening cutscene. One of my favorites out of them, honestly.
Hanako, my beloved.
I think there's a lot of...
Hanako, you guys... What? I was gonna say, is Hanako you guys' favorite routes?
I actually like Lily just a little bit more, but Hanako is really up there for me.
That's fair.
Me, it's gotta be Dina and Emmy, but I love all the girls except Shizune. Shuzune's a bitch.
Yeah, that's
yeah,
pretty
that's
common.
general consensus there.
Yeah, pretty common opinion.
And what about you guys in chat? Like, who's your favorite girl chat?
I would assume anybody who showed up to this stream, it would be Hanako, but...
Yeah, that's true.
Only one way to find out, really.
Mm-hmm.
I also really love the music of the opening cutscenes, all of them, so, Right.
Look at these guys.
Yep. Anyways, I have to get up momentarily, so I'm going to put it in automatic mode, so I can, Alright. So, usually you don't mind taking over narration, do you?
That's fine.
Fantastic, fantastic. I'll be right back. Pardon me.
My alarm blares into my ears, only to be swiftly silenced by my fist. My body switches into auto mode, carrying my subconscious self out of bed and into my uniform. As always, my bottles of pills sit on my desk patiently, waiting for me to take them and pick out my daily dosage of medicine. 17 pills a day. Before I know it, I'm opening the door to Class 3-3. Glad to say that I'm not the only one who seems to be a little hungover from festival week. Every face in the classroom looks gaunt. With the festival now over, it's as if everyone's life's dreams have been achieved. With nothing left to live for, the students have relied on instincts alone to guide them to class. Or maybe I'm just reading too much into it. I slowly make my way to my seat, and it's only then that I realize why the room is so peaceful. Seats besides mine are blissfully empty. The world's loudest interpreter for the deaf has yet to arrive. Just as I'm about to sit down, a door flies open, revealing a resplendent Misha, trails bobbing from the dramatic entrance and arms stretched towards the sky.
Alright, pardon the interruption, I'm back. And I completely forgot Misha was in the scene, I'm a fool. Whoops. So, yeah, forgot Misha was in the scene. So, I got a way to fix that, though. I didn't miss any of her lines, did I?
Nope.
Fantastic. Perfect timing, then. Here we go. Alright. Forgot to turn off auto mode. Alright. So, I should probably mention, I thought I turned that off. There we go. Alright. Alright. More stuff, pardon me. Alright.
Yahoo! It's all over. Hey! Oh yeah, She-chan.
There we go. My mistake. So, I forgot to mention, those of you who were here for the first stream, Momoka played, Misha, but this time she'll be played by, Cece. Yes, and, thank you, Yusha, for, giving the cast list. For those of us for that before, we began, but, again, headless chicken mode, so, really sorry for this, everyone. Alright. Enough of that, let's, get back to it. Alright, it would appear that not everyone is affected by the post-festival depression. The rest of the class glare at her, obviously thinking the same thing I am. Misha, still frozen in the doorway with her arms still in the air, nervously looks around. It's obvious that she senses the foul mood, but can't work out exactly what to do. Suddenly, she jerks forward.
Hey!
As she stumbles into the classroom, she reveals Shizune, arms still extended from where she shoved Misa.
Thanks for the entertainment, but shouldn't you two take your seats?
Still slightly embarrassed, Misha takes a few seconds to realize she has to translate.
Oh yeah, She-chan says she's not happy with you ditching us last week. We were really busy.
Is that so? What about the stuff I already did for you two?
She says that only counts for council members. Since you declined, she doesn't owe you anything.
Misha leans closer and whispers conspiratorially into my ear. Alright, I think, she's quiet on my end, so I'm assuming she's quiet on everybody else's end, so let me try to do some volume balancing, Alright, there we go.
Actually, I think she's just a little sore that you didn't spend the day with her. She's really thankful for your work last week, though.
Sensing that she's being talked about, Shizune lightly wraps her fingers on her desk until Misha turns around to face her. I can't understand any of the fast-paced signing that's going on, but from Shizune's slightly embarrassed expression and Misha's poorly contained laughter, I can guess. While this exchange is happening, the door opens once again, but this time at a much more reasonable pace. Hanako quietly enters the room and pulls the door closed behind her. Peering out from under her hair, she quickly scans the classroom. Our eyes meet and she suddenly stiffens. She closes her eyes, takes a deep breath, and then walks over to my desk.
Good morning, Hisao.
Morning, Hanako. You're a little late, aren't you?
I was talking to Lily about today.
Ah, so you've got her list then. We can leave straight after classes in that case.
Sure.
Looking forward to it.
Hanako briefly flashes her embarrassed smile at me, then hurries off to her seat. During classes, it becomes apparent that it's not only the students that are a little despondent after the festival. Mutou simply gives us a list of exercises from the textbook and then sits behind his desk. I totally forget about the brief lunch period for a moment, such as the banality of the day. It's mind-numbing, and suddenly everyone seems surprised when the bells signal the end of lessons. As I'm packing my bags, Shizune and Misa flank and entrap me.
Say, Hichan, it's still not too late to join up. There's a lot of post-festival paperwork for us to complete.
Sorry, Misha. I've got plans.
As if sensing the cue, Hanako appears behind me holding a small bag and trying to avoid eye contact with the outside world. Misa's eyes open wide, then she bursts into laughter.
You move fast, don't you, Hichan? We won't disturb your date any further.
Behind the roaring Misa, I see Shizune taking far too little interest in the scene. I might be taking this the wrong way, but I think she's deliberately ignoring me. I feel a gentle tug on my shirt and turn to see Hanako's eyes fixed firmly on the floor.
Let's...
Yeah. Shizune, Misha, I'll see you later. And I'm still not interested in the student council.
Spoil sport.
Misha and Shizune retreat into the hallway, happily signing to each other.
Got all your stuff? Let's head off.
Floods of students pour out of the school gates and onto the road into town. It's a little weird. It's almost like a scene from any other high school, but the illusion fades because of the occasional wheelchair or missing limb. One thing I do notice is that nobody's alone. And as Hanako and I pass through the gates, I notice that she closes the distance between us. Not enough to be considered close, but she certainly isn't at her usual just a little far position. I guess we're not familiar enough for her to get as close as she does with Lily. However, even though she has moved a little closer to me physically, mentally she seems to have traveled a mile. Her hands cluster on the leather straps of her bag to the point of whitening her knuckles, her head down and her mouth pursed closed. She almost looks like she's being walked to the principal's office for the first time. I try to stifle a giggle with the thought, but it's futile.
What's the matter?
I guess there's no point in hiding it.
Hey, for a second there, it looked like you were getting into trouble.
What do you mean?
I think you need to relax a little. You're not going too far, and it's only students around, right?
Right.
It bothers me a little to see Hanako so worked up.
And you do this every week, don't you?
Yes. With Lily.
Of course, with Lily. I wonder, has she ever left the school without her? It doesn't seem like much at first glance, but Hanako's dependence on Lily is absurdly heavy. If she can't even handle leaving the school without her, how would she have managed to survive if the two had never met? Would she have found someone else to latch onto, and what drew her to Lily? Was it her lack of eyesight, or was Lily just kind enough to lend a hand? I wonder if anyone would have fit the bill.
Well, I'm here. Besides, we're not going far. It'll be over before you know it.
Hanako's knuckles slowly regain their color as she tries to hide a small smile, but the effort of that seems to prevent further conversation. We travel side by side down the winding road towards the town. The crowd of students thins as we continue along the sidewalk. Faster students rush ahead and the less mobile ones fall behind, rarefying the crowd into nothingness. By the time we reach the convenience store, we're practically alone. Using me as a shield between herself and the attendant, Hanako moves through the narrow aisles, adding an assortment of items to her basket. Bread, milk, tea, thyme. What kind of convenience store sells herbs? Then again, nothing about this sound seems normal, which may not be such a bad thing in retrospect. Everything's so different and uncomfortable, dwelling on such matters isn't really an option. When I think about that, it reminds me of Hanako. No matter how much you try, you can't escape her scars. They still interrupt my train of thought when I see them. As much as I don't want to admit it to myself, I think I'm forcing myself to try to ignore them. Not that I'm scar-free myself, the jagged lines on my sternum will never completely fade away. I just have the luxury of being able to hide it easily. But, in a way, both of our scars remind me that we're all in this place for a reason. Hanako throws one last item into her basket and then sheepishly holds it out to me, along with a few banknotes.
Could you please?
It takes me a second to understand what she's trying to say.
Oh, you want me to pay for this?
She nods but doesn't look up. I guess this task falls to Lily on the usual occasions.
Sure. Let me just grab a couple things.
Hastily, I grab a few essential items for myself and head for the counter with Hanako in close tow. The attendant gives me an indifferent nod as he scans the items. I suppose just ignoring us is one way to deal with the anomalies of Yamaku. They must get a lot of students here, being the closest store to the school. The staff must all have their own way of dealing with us, or maybe they don't. Maybe it's only me who thinks twice about my unique schoolmates. Our transaction complete, Hanako and I head back out onto the street. The road is pretty much abandoned now. The students that were heading out have already left, and nobody started returning just yet. And with only the school ahead on the road, there doesn't seem to be anyone else around. The emptiness certainly reflects on Hanako. Her arms by her sides, each carrying a bag, her head no longer bowed and back to the upright position. It's almost as if she were enjoying this walk.
So, why all these weird things? Mixed spice? Why would you need that in school?
I sometimes like to make food.
Well, yeah, so do I, but... spices? That's a little more advanced, don't you think?
Not really.
Well, I think it's cool. You'll have to teach me one day.
My mistake.
Sure.
She doesn't seem all that sure, but pushing the point doesn't seem all that wise. At the very least, she seems a great deal happier than she did on the walk down here. That alone makes me a little happier. Outside the girls' dorm, Hanako and I sort out the grocery bags with our respective purchases. In comparison, my things look positively plain.
I tell you, you're putting me to shame here.
No, I'm not. I just...
I'm only joking. I have a stack of homework that I skipped last week, so I must leave now. Will you be alright getting that to your room?
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. I'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.
We part ways and I return to my room. Piles of papers sit on my desk, begging to be completed. With the entire ruckus of the last week, I've barely had any time to catch up. I've tried to keep up with my studies while I was at the hospital, but some of the stuff I've never seen before, even back in my old school. Totally unprepared, I pop the top on a can of drink and get to work. The days are really starting to heat up. This morning I awoke covered in sweat. By the time the student body starts leaving their dorm for breakfast and morning duties, the sun's taking full effect. Oddly, that puts me in high spirits. It's not even 8 yet, I feel that this is going to be one of those pleasant, tranquil, warm ones. If I went to a school that considers every absence from class as a sign of a life-threatening situation, I'd consider skipping the whole day and just relaxing in the school gardens. Yes, today will be a genuinely lazy day. For a second, I stop in mid-stretch and consider the nurse's warning about exercise. Maybe I should have kept up those morning jogs. Running with someone like Emmy might have been a little testing, but if I worked at my own pace... who am I kidding? I couldn't stick to something like that without some kind of motivation. It's something I can sit around all day. The walk to and from the convenience store counts as exercise, right? Especially the walk back up the hill. Yeah, it's no big deal. Compared to months lying on a hospital bed, I'm getting plenty of exercise. It seems that I'm not alone in my appreciation of the day. Nearly every member of the class is glancing through the window and into the tantalizing sky. Even the steadfast Shizune seems to lack her usual vigor for schoolwork. Misha, as brazen as ever, has even unbuttoned the top buttons of her shirt and is fanning herself with a notebook. I must have been staring as she's now sticking her tongue out at me. However, she shows no signs of halting her efforts, nor is she trying to hide the fact. The lunch bell seemed to catch everyone by surprise, and the class empties at a much slower pace than usual. The heat seems to be draining the need to rush from everyone. Well, almost everyone.
Hisao?
Hey there, Hanako. What can I do for you today?
Hanako already has a lunch bag in hand. I don't have to be a detective to work out where this is going.
Would you like to have lunch with us again? I brought enough for everyone.
Awesome. You don't have to be so stiff about it, though.
Right.
I take it we're going to the tea room?
Please? Lily said she'll meet us in there, so we should...
Good.
should go ahead together.
Sounds like a plan. This heat has made me pretty hungry.
Hanako breathes a sigh of relief, and I gather my things together. As usual, the aura of the tea room is refreshing, feeling isolated from the rest of the world. Then again, the usual din of the school seems to be a bit subdued, most likely from laziness promoted by heat exhaustion. Hanako slowly spreads her food on the table, intently focusing on every little movement as if she's trying to keep her mind off other things. It's not much, but I can tell from her demeanor that she's prepared everything with utmost care.
I guess Lily isn't here yet. Should we start without her?
She'll be here soon.
Hanako struggles with the lid of a container of rice.
Here, let me help out with that.
I take the container from Hanako's hands and try to force open the lid. Dry as I might, it seems wedged shut.
Let me guess. Did you put this in while the rice was still hot?
Yes, I was in a rush.
I put the container on the table between us.
I thought so. It looks like this is wedged shut. We'll need to get some hot water to get it open. But that could be a pain in here. We'd get water everywhere.
Well, in that case, how about I contribute to today's meal?
At the door, Lily smiles, holding up a bag stocked with various buns and bread rolls. I can't help but do the same.
Since you had a change of plans because of me, I thought I would bring a little something.
Thanks, Lily. Here, let me get that for you.
With a little guidance, Lily's bread assortment joins Hanako's riceless platter. I hastily make some tea to complete the picture.
Wow, I'm looking forward to this.
As I take a bite, I notice Hanako trying her hardest to not look like she's looking at me. It's nothing special, but then again I can't really complain. I'm pretty lazy when it comes to cooking for myself.
Not bad. I guess this is made with the stuff you bought yesterday?
Yes.
Hanako's eyes shout at me, begging for some kind of feedback.
Well, it was clearly worth it. Thanks, Hanako.
I wanted to show you this after yesterday.
It's okay. I was just a little surprised at the stuff you were buying.
Hanako's always liked to experiment when it comes to food. I think it's good, most of the time.
While Lily smiles and waver, the slight change in her tone tells me that things have not gone so well in the past. And it's not like Hanako has many people to sample her cooking. Hang on. Was Lily waiting for me to go first? She didn't start eating until after I said it was alright. Her cheeky grin tells me that this was a deliberate action on her part. I'll have to try to work out how to get one over on her in the future to make up for this.
Well, it's good, and that's all that counts, right?
Right.
Lily, satisfied at not being the first to sample Hanako's creation, begins to consume the food in front of her. I find myself staring as I watch her chopsticks gently touch the plate, their tips delicately poking and tracing to quickly ascertain the positions of the food as she dexterously picks it up. One might think she were a child playing with her food if not for the situation, though she does it with such care and thoughtlessness that it's obvious this is simply how she eats this kind of meal. Not wanting to miss out, I start filling up myself. Hanako takes a different approach, waiting until Lily and I have our hands clear before quickly snatching up her share. Before long, the containers are empty, save for the still-shut rice container.
Thank you, Hanako. That was filling.
No, thank you for the bread.
Yes, it would have been a disaster if not for that.
You're both welcome. But now I must be getting back. It's far too easy to be late after eating here.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I think we'll just clean up here and then head off.
Well then, good day.
Lily leaves, her cane tapping away down the quiet hallway. Hanako and I quickly pack our things and stay seated, waiting for the bell. Together we stare out the window and into the endless azure sky. If it weren't for the pealing of the bells, I would have sworn the time had stopped. The urge to skip classes rises in my gut. I should have glanced at Hanako, who shows no signs of moving either.
Not just yet.
The interval between the warning bells and the end of lunch bells passes in the blink of an eye.
We really should go. People will freak out and start a search party if we skip.
Hanako sighs.
You're right.
Slowly, she rises to her feet and I follow suit. Silently, we make our way up the old stairs to the 3rd floor and then to our classroom. At the door, I take point and open the door ahead of Hanako, bowing my head down in apology in advance.
I'm sorry we're late, teacher.
I'm greeted not by stern words, nor by an angered instruction to take my seat, but simply by the silence created by 15 or so students trying not to laugh. Mutou, ever tardy, has yet to arrive. However, the fact that Hanako and I have arrived together is blatantly obvious. Make that about 14 students trying and 1 student failing.
Oh, the lover's return.
Yeah, thanks. You can calm down now.
I stepped through the door and realized that Hanako was firmly pressed against my back, hiding herself from the class. With my steps coming closer to my desk, she eventually breaks from me and stiffly walks to her own. Her efforts to mentally block everyone's presence from her mind are written fairly clearly on her face. Quickly checking the door for any signs of the teacher's arrival, I make a trip to Hanako's desk and whisper in her ear.
Don't worry about Misha. She's always like this. I enjoyed myself today. Don't sweat it, okay?
Hanako nods her head behind her folded arms, but still doesn't show her face. I yearn to stay and console her more, but Mutou picks this exact moment to enter the class, halfway through his lecture, as if it started in the hallway. Which, of course, is directly proportional to the charge, but inversely proportionally to the square of the distance. He's so engrossed in his speech that he doesn't even notice me sneaking back into my seat from Hanako's desk. While Mutou's spiel rambles on, Misha leans over to me.
The teacher may not have noticed your tardiness, but I did.
That much is obvious just from the show you put on.
I have been instructed to let you off the hook for today, but only on one condition.
Oh, and what would that be?
You have to help us this afternoon.
I crane my neck to look over Misha's shoulder. Shizune is conveniently not making eye contact with me.
Fine, just for today. I've already told you I'm not joining the council. Remember?
Of course, doing so could be considered,
She looks down at her notebook, obviously looking for a place in her script.
Under duress, and hence would be against regulations.
How very strange of you to be considerate of the regulations now.
Things should be done by the book. It's just that the book hasn't been written for every situation, so there are times when it can be ignored.
Yet, you too wonder why no one else wants to be in the student council.
After poking her tongue out at me, Misha returns to her workbook, and we battle away through the latter half of the school day. Before I can even stand up, Misha and Shizune place her hands on both of my shoulders.
Hey, I said I'd help out. Damn.
This is just insurance, Hisao. Insurance.
Hisao?
Hanako timidly tries to leave the room by circling around us, and I suddenly realize that this may be my one chance to escape.
Hey, Hanako. What's up?
Hey, what makes you think you've got time to chat?
Relax, this won't take long. Sorry, Hanako, you were saying?
I was going to the library and I thought...
Hanako's thumbs dance around each other and her eyes flit around the room, looking everywhere but at us.
Sorry, Hanako, but Hisao has to come with us. He's got work to do. Oh, but you can help too if you'd like. So, how about it, Hisao?
So, fun fact about this scene, there's this one flowchart that I used back in the day, and they literally called this choice between help the council and fuck the council. Just pointing that out. Speaking of, I'm going to go with the option that was fuck the council.
Yeah, I think asking Hanako would be more considerate, honestly.
Probably would, but the flowchart said this
Oh.
choice actually didn't matter all that much, if I recall correctly.
Oh,
Just a choice between which scene, two different scenes. Not that much difference.
Hmm.
And I'm the one in control of the game, so I say...
hey, Shizune, you know I said I'd help, but I forgot I'd already made plans. Besides, I helped out more than my fair share last week, didn't I? I promise I'll make it up to you some other time.
Shizune and Misha release their grip on me and have a long, deep, and silent conversation. Wait, I don't think she voiced this line. Shit. Please be correct.
Well, you have a point there. To be honest, we were only going to spend the rest of the budget on cakes.
Thank fuck I was correct. Okay.
So, if you're not there, it works out better. More cake for us.
Shizune about faces and marches out the door, and Misha skips out after her.
Well, that was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. Last week, those two were like bloodhounds or prison guards? Or maybe prison guards bred from bloodhounds.
I can't believe I just thought that little and sang it out loud. I need to move away from Kenji.
Never mind. Anyway, should we go off to the library?
Sure.
Hanako follows me through the still crowded halls of the library, using me as a shield. As soon as we're through the door, Hanako bolts for the counter where Yuko's stacking books. Before I can catch up, Hanako has whispered something to her.
You'd find that in nonfiction, but I don't know where exactly. If you want, I can look it up. Never mind.
Hey, Yuko. What's all this about?
Oh, Hisao, Hanako was just looking for a book on... Nothing.
Book on nothing? In the non-fiction section?
I was just...
I shoot a glance at Yuko. She looks like she's about to burst from the pressure of keeping Hanako's request secret.
Yuko, what did...
Chess. She's looking for a chess book.
I make a mental note to never entrust Yuko with any important information.
Yuko? I'm sorry, Hanako, it just slipped out.
Well, it's not a secret anymore. Come on, I'll give you a hand. I should really brush up on my skills too.
Oh, okay.
Yuko disappears behind the counter in shame as Hanako and I wander into the depths of the non-fiction section. I know there's supposed to be a system for categorizing these books, but I don't see how anyone can decipher it without spending half their life researching it. That's probably why all the librarians I know are neurotic. Towards the end of the aisle, between a book on card tricks and some book on kids' games, stands a single book bearing the title Chess Tactics for Champions. Before I can reach for it, Hanako has the book in her hands, clutching it to her chest.
Well, I guess that's yours then. Mind if I borrow it when you're finished?
Sure. I just haven't really played against anyone but Lily before, so I thought...
Damn, it's not like I was trying to beat Hanako deliberately or anything, but she seems to have taken it to heart. Then again, at least this means she wants to play me again. That's a plus, right?
Well, it's not like I'm a master or anything. I just played a bit before.
It occurs to me that I haven't told Hanako about my condition. I faltered for a second, decided to cover my tracks. That's a conversation for another day.
Before I came here.
Are you alright?
Yeah, I was just remembering something.
When I think about it, I shouldn't be afraid to tell Hanako about my condition and my time in the hospital. Judging by her scars, she probably spent a fair amount of time in a hospital bed. But for some reason, I can't bring it up. At least not today and not on short notice. Eager to break off the conversation, I grab a random book from the shelf. It's some book on the world's fastest roller coasters. Published in 1982. Well, not very up to date, but it should at least be interesting.
Well, we've both got books now. Should we go sit down?
Hanako seems to accept my bluff, and we head to the reading nook in the back of the library. Neither of us says a word. We simply open our books and start reading. I try to read my book, but it would seem that in 1982, roller coasters weren't nearly as large as the ones built in the decades since. Most of the ones listed are made of wood. Something about that doesn't seem safe to me. If I'm going to run on something potentially dangerous, I want it to be made out of steel or some kind of space-age alloy that has big words like titanium and ruthenium. I quickly lose interest and my eyes wander across the reading area to rest on Hanako. Hanako seems absorbed in her book, flicking back and forth through the pages, as if confirming what she just read. I wonder if that's actually affects her or if she's just overloading herself. She unconsciously brushes her hair up from her face, temporarily revealing her scar tissue. I'm still not sure about the protocol here. Is it right to ask her about her scars or her past? How long she was in the hospital? Does she still visit the doctor? These all seem like questions that you'd ask someone who just transferred to your school, translated into the local language. But to date, no one has directly asked me about any of them. Well, except Rin, but I don't think I should use her as a guide to proper social behavior. For the time being, I'll just keep my mouth shut. If someone wants you to know something, then they'll tell you. Trying to force the issue might drive Hanako back into herself.
Sorry to interrupt, but I have to close the library now.
Already?
I checked my watch. Somehow, as I was lost in thought, nearly 2 hours have passed.
do you want to check out those books? I can do it on the way out. Please.
I'm done. I'll drop this one back on the way, though. It wasn't as interesting as I first thought.
Hanako marks her place with a slip of paper and stands up. The girl sits at the counter and I return my book to what I think is the right shelf. Yuko scans Hanako's book with practiced precision, yet still manages to fumble it.
Oh, there we go. Third time lucky. Since this is a non-fiction book, you can only have it for a week. That's okay.
Yuko shuts down the library's computer and herds us out the door.
I didn't think it was this late already.
You're the one that told us you had to close.
Yes, but... I know, but... that was before I looked at the time. I'll see you later.
Yuko bolts down the hall, her handbag trailing behind her like an awkward streamer.
I guess all librarians really are neurotic.
Huh?
Never mind, I was just thinking that I've never met a librarian that can organize their time, no matter how good they are with their books.
Oh, I know what you mean.
Hanako smiles in amusement. It wasn't meant to be a joke, but I must have reminded her of some other librarian or something.
I have to get back.
Yeah, me too. I didn't realize it was this late. Thanks for letting me hang out with you.
No problem.
I'm going to my dormitory room now anyway, so do you mind if I tag along?
Okay.
Hanako sets off ahead of me, and I need to jog a little to reach her side. We walk through the gardens, eventually arriving in front of the dorm buildings.
Man, you walk pretty fast. I used to play in a soccer club, and you managed to outpace me.
I kind of regret saying that. It has less to do with her pace than with the fact that my condition is significantly worse than my fitness. Hanako's reaction is just odd. I expected an awkward attempt to downplay her walking speed, but she just blushes while looking at her feet and smiling. Silence hangs in the air between us. That happens often around Hanako, but feels slightly different than usual this time. After a few seconds, I try to break it.
Here you go. See you in class tomorrow?
Sure.
Hanako waves a short goodbye before pushing her way through the dorm's doors. I stand and look at them for a while before making my way to my own dorm. Hydration check.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah.
Chirping birds. Normally this would be a good time to reflect on the beauty of nature. But it's 6 a.m. Covering my head with the pillow, I slam my face into the mattress, hoping that the impact will send me instantly back to sleep. Futile. I toss and turn, but sleep just won't return to me. Alright, nature, you've won. See? I'm getting up now. The lack of sleep weighs my mind out, and there's only one remedy for this. A nice, hearty breakfast. It would be nice to be the first person here. To be the first person to dig into a piping hot pile of food to sit wherever I desire. It would have been nice. But even my exceptionally early start has put me behind the most diligent students. I guess there are quite a few people who have early starts here for one reason or another. A group of students in sports clothes huddle around one table, eagerly discussing game plans in between inhaling great gulps of food. Scattered around the hall are a number of bleary-eyed students, probably suffering from the same ailment as myself. Noisy birds. And of course, there are the people that actually enjoy getting up this early, the ones with their bags stuffed with textbooks and completed homework. It's hard not to despise people like that, even more so when you're tired yourself. Picking out a familiar face from the thin crowd, I head towards the nearest table. Lily sits alone, delicately filling her way around a small plate of eggs with her fork. It's almost a shame to interrupt her in her clockwork movements. I wonder, is this how a blind person zones out, simply moving in predetermined patterns, learned over the years? Just like how a sighted person would eat while reading a newspaper.
Good morning, Lily. I didn't expect you to be here this early.
Oh, Hisao, you startled me. I didn't know you took breakfast this early.
I don't. This is an exception to the rule. I'd greatly prefer to be late to school than early to breakfast.
Lily gives a small sigh at my admitted tardiness as I begin eating my food. It doesn't take long for her to lapse back into her previous mindless nibbling. Each short motion lacks energy, as opposed to similar to letting her eyes wander while performing any ordinary chore. But after a few repetitions of the find food, eat food cycle, Lily puts down her fork and dabs her lips with a napkin.
Hisao, do you mind if I ask you a question?
Damn, all I want is a little food and about 4 more hours of sleep, and nobody says, can I ask you a question for a simple question? You cut out.
Sure.
Do you think of Hanako as a friend?
This seems like a leading question.
I guess so. Why do you ask?
No real reason. I do have another question, though. Why is it that you think of her as a friend?
This is well above my level. What's she expecting from me?
I'm not really sure. I guess it's because she's a little different in the way she deals with people.
Since I've known her, she hasn't really connected with anyone. She doesn't seem interested in other people, and I think people are a little scared off by her appearance.
Really? I thought that kind of thing was, well, discouraged here. Discriminating and such.
If I were to put it one way,
She furrows her brow in thought, a move which makes me slightly anxious as to what she's plugging from her mind.
I'd say that you're a little naive.
Naive? I'd be insulted if it wasn't for the slightly cynical grin on her face.
I see.
While Yamako has a stronger sense of community, while Yamako has a stronger sense of community compared to other schools, it's far from being free of conflict. Rules cannot move human nature, after all, only suppress it.
That's something I've noticed, actually. Just little things, like how certain people in cliques avoid each other in the hallways. It's no different than my old school, really. Even Lily and Suzune could be considered bitter rivals, even though they both seem like fairly accepting people. Well, at least the Misha Tint and Suzune does. Who knows what actually goes on with her fingers and behind her glasses.
I guess you're right. But when I first came here, everything was a bit of a shock. I kept on making mistakes, or at least thinking I was making mistakes, like when we first met, and I said, I see, to you. I didn't know if that was considered rude or anything, so I tried to just put it in the back of my mind, treating people any differently and that kind of thing. So I didn't. I told myself that Hanako and you and everyone else was just normal, and I tried to ignore the obvious. I talked to Hanako as if she were any other person, so we became friends. At least, that's how I think it happened. But you know, I feel guilty just from saying something like that aloud, as if it took extra effort to think of Hanako, or you, or anyone here as normal people. I don't think that's right.
Isao, I think you are naive, but I also think that you are a good person. It is perhaps one of your better traits.
I suppose I could take that as a compliment?
Tell me, are you free tonight?
If you don't count homework, then I'm as free as the breeze.
In that case, would you care to join myself and Hanako for tea?
I don't really have that much money at the moment, so going out isn't really...
Oh, I didn't mean going out. Just here, this evening.
You can access the classrooms in the evening here?
No, that's not what I meant. Hanako and I often use my room for tea parties together. Please, feel free to drop by after dusk.
Sure, I see no problem with that. What's your room number?
One sec.
Of course. Pardon us for a moment.
225. Room 25 on the second floor.
Okay, sure.
Well then, I'd best be off. I have class representative duties to attend to after all. Until this evening, Isao.
Yeah. Catch you later.
Hang on. Was I just invited to a girl's room after hours? Is that even allowed? There is the curfew here, but I've never heard any rules about visitors in the dorm rooms. Even still, this is enough to get my sleep-deprived brain jump-started. Add that to a lukewarm breakfast and you have a hell of a pick-me-up. I grudgingly go to class, still a little excited at the prospect of breaking the rules. I feel like a little kid planning to sneak out of his window at night. Well, maybe that's going a little too far, but when you compare an invitation to a party to 6 or so hours of lectures, I know which one wins. Maisie and Susan do little to relieve my boredom either. For once, they seem determined to actually complete Mutou's assignments. Nevertheless, the day eventually winds to a close. I hurry back to my room and wash up and comb my hair. Thankfully, I don't run into Kenji. Before long, I'm leaving the boys' dorm. I nervously rap on the door marked 225, checking my watch once again.
It's like you, Hisao. The door is open, you can come in.
Lily's voice slips through the door and soothes my nerves. This is the first time I've been invited to a girl's room after dark. Even though I know there's no ulterior motive behind this invitation, it doesn't stop my mind running wild with possibilities. One guy, 2 girls, in a dorm room with a tea set. When I put it like that, it does sound a little dodgy. Giving a small sigh to steady myself, I gingerly put my hand on the handle and open the door, craning my head to see inside. The door opens completely and I catch my first glimpse of Lily's room. Her furniture looks almost antique, but the bare walls and flat surfaces are barely decorated at all. In the center of the room sits a low table where I see a small tea set at rest. It seems that everything in this room has its place, possibly excepting the several piles of books stacked up against the wall. My sense of vision isn't the only one to be stimulated. The faint smell of something that can be picked up on in the air. Nail polish, perfume, makeup. It's hard to describe in any way other than girly. My eyes finished a quick sweep of the room before returning to their position onto the girls. Lily sits next to the small table wearing a very dark blue pajamas. Dark blue pajamas with shorts that show off plenty of her alluring pale legs. Opposite her, Hanako sits adorned in a conservative light pink gown. Her hands are firmly fixed between her legs, her shoulders forward, and her head down as if trying to hide herself in it. It'd be easy for her to do so, it looks about 2 sizes too big for her. Waves of flannel flow from her frame, making her look like a child playing dress-up in her parents' clothes. She looks up to confirm my identity, and the beginnings of a thin smile creep across her face, before vanishing so fast that I can't be sure if they were ever there.
There's no point in you standing in the doorway, Hisao.
I take a step into the room, closing the door behind me.
My, I'm afraid this really is a small room for the 3 of us. Would you like to take a seat?
I slowly walk up to the table and sit down, trying my hardest not to disturb anything along the way. I also can't help but steal a quick glance at Lily's top as I sit. To be robbed of sight would be a most terrible fate.
Well now, how about some tea? Hanako, could you please pour?
Sure. Hisao, would you like?
I would love some tea. Do you need a hand?
No, I'm fine. Thank you.
Lily finds it difficult to resist a smile at her companion's nervousness, something I can't really blame her for.
And a tiring day?
Yeah.
I relax in my place, opposite of the cabinet. To my left is the blue-clad Lily, and to my right sits the pink Hanako. The tea set on the table looks cute as well as practical, painted red with a floral motif. It looks odd when contrasted with Lily's plain but generally sophisticated-looking furniture, which leads me to think Hanako might have picked it out. There's a slight ting when Hanako accidentally clips the teapot in a cup as she's pouring. She breathes in sharply. She must really be nervous, as it's not the kind of thing anyone would worry about. Hanako quivers at her mistake.
It's okay, Hanako. There's no need to be nervous.
Hanako seems to find some confidence in Lily's reassuringly soft-spoken words, and deftly pours the next 2 cups.
Here you are, Hisao. Lily.
Hanako carefully places a cup and saucer in front of Lily and myself. I can get used to service like this.
Thank you, Hanako.
Yeah, thanks.
You're welcome.
Lily searches for a cup and, upon finding it, sips delicately. I do the same. This tea tastes somewhat better than the tea we usually have at school.
This is nice. It's so different from any tea I had before.
Looks like you picked the right one, Hanako. You've done well, even if it was a bold move.
Hanako's smile returns, redoubled. Even with her blighted face, her shy smile couldn't be called anything but cute.
I'm glad you like it.
Hanako, finally beginning to relax, sips from her cup. Something about this makes me think about Lily's question at breakfast. Why am I friends with Hanako? Lily seems genuinely concerned for Hanako's well-being, but it's not like I can do anything to help her. As far as I can tell, her scars don't hold her back physically, and everyone I've met seems to have overcome their disabilities to some extent. I don't have any ulterior motives to hanging out with Hanako. We just share similar interests. Isn't that enough?
So, Hisao, are you enjoying yourself?
Lily's words break me out of my reverie, and I take a second to reconsider where I am. I'm in a room with 2 girls in their bedclothes. This is something to be enjoyed.
Yeah, it's relaxing. Almost like I'm not in the school anymore. Do you do this often?
Quite often, but not as often if you take tea in a school building.
Considering they do that nearly every day, that's not a big surprise. As I move to take another sip from my teacup, I find it sadly empty.
That was delicious. Thank you, Hanako. Lily?
You're welcome.
Yes, you're most welcome, Hisao. It's nice to have a third person here.
Well, anytime you need someone to fill that position, I'm always available. Always.
One must be sure to get one's point across in these circumstances. Lily lets loose a yawn, which she unsuccessfully hides with her hand.
Pardon me. I think I'm a little tired.
I think we're all a little tired.
Sorry, my, how astute we are tonight, Hanako. We really should head to bed. We all have class tomorrow after all.
Yeah. I should go.
Thank you for your presence, Hisao.
Thanks. You'll come again?
Not even a whole army could stop me.
I'm impressed by your determination, Hisao.
Either way, you're right. We'd best get going.
I stand up and make for the door. Hanako gingerly stands up behind me. I stop and face her.
Are you coming with me?
Hanako instantly blossoms into a full blush.
No, I'm not. Not this room. Isn't.
It's okay. I was only joking.
Oh, okay. Good night.
Night, Hanako. Good night, Isao.
Not all.
And with that, our tea party finishes. I'm still not sure what it is that Lily wants me to do for Hanako, but I don't want to let her down. I wait until the doors close behind us before turning to Hanako.
Hey, Hanako. You know, you don't have to be nervous around me or anything. I mean, we're friends, right?
Right. We're friends.
If you ever want to hang out or anything, just let me know. We still need to have that chess rematch, remember?
Sure. But I don't think you'll win.
It wouldn't be any fun if it was easy.
Hanako seems to give a muted laugh, but she could have just as easily been exhaling.
Good night, Hisao.
With that, Hanako quickly retreats into her room, located next to Lily's. I start to walk back to my dorm, but the simple act of walking seems to drain me of my energy. I barely make it to my room before I'm hit by a wave of exhaustion. I kick off my shoes, fall into bed, and fall asleep by the time my head hits the pillow. Oh, yes, me. I pull my door closed, ready for another day of classes.
Sleep well?
Sleep well?
I had the lines all wrong. My mistake.
That's okay. Do you need me to do this, or...?
No, this scene, no. It's a later scene that he didn't record for.
Got it.
So, to explain what we're talking about, so if you were here last stream, you remember, Halbernacht will be playing Genji via pre-recorded dialogue, but I only assumed he was in one scene this route. I forgot he had two of them. And silly me, I never, didn't have time to actually shake him for the second one, so... Don't get used to this voice, is what I'm saying. At least for this stream. I am the worst director in the world, and I apologize for that.
No, it's fine. Don't worry about it, man.
Anyways.
Sleep well?
Kenji's Thunder Rival makes me jump, and I narrowly avoid butting heads with him. I know he has poor eyesight, but he knows who I am now. Does he still have to stand this close?
Oh, yeah. Like a baby.
Damn, why do people say that? Have you ever heard of babies sleep? They scream all night, every night. Babies don't sleep well, ever.
Well, there goes my restful state. I have to remember to never use figures of speech with Kenji.
Alright, I get your point. It was a figure of speech.
Yeah, sure, whatever. Where were you last night? I had a favor to ask, but you weren't around.
For a split second, I considered telling Kenji the truth, that I was spending time with Hanako and Lily. Thankfully, that split second passes as soon as it came.
I was just out, checking out the local area and stuff. You know, recon.
Good, man, good. I knew you were the type to plan ahead.
Anyway, what was this favor you wanted?
I was gonna get some takeout, but I need some change.
Wait, what? I gave you money last week and you still haven't even paid me back.
And I was just starting to think you were cool.
Kenji fishes around in his pocket and produces his wallet. As it counts out the 400 yen he owes me, I can clearly see at least two 10,000 yen notes.
Hey, what the hell? Why are you borrowing money off me when you've got that much cash?
Kenji hisses a little, realizing that he's been had.
Get off my case, man. It's bad luck to break a big note for anything less than half its value. It's a tycoon's rule. Last night's dinner is going to cost me 7 years of bad luck. 7 years! Don't you think that's enough to help someone out? I'd get a shorter sentence if I just stole the stuff.
My common sense screams at me to say something to him, but thankfully I restrain myself. Arguing a point like this with Kenji will just lead to further and more complicated discussions.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Maybe you should plan these things a little better.
Yeah, man, I know, but I've got so much stuff to do, it's hard. And you're never around anymore, so I'm on my own. We're supposed to be brothers in brotherhood, remember?
Yeah, I get you. Global conspiracies and such, I'll keep my ear to the ground.
Kenji draws close enough for me to get a clear whiff of his garlic-tainted breath.
You'd better, man. You're already spending less time here. That's the first thing they do. They try to split us up. Divide and conquer. Sun Tzu said that.
Roger that. Now, I've got to be going. I got classes. You coming?
Nah, I'm tired. I stayed up all night just to make sure nothing was going to happen after splitting up that note.
As rational as ever, I see.
Whatever. Night.
Kenji scurries back into his room and I hear him throwing his locks as I walk down the hallway. That is why some people can't roll their tongue, or why their second toe is bigger than their big toe. Mutou beams in a half-moon smile at us, obviously proud of his explanation of recessive genes. However, no matter how impressed he is at the science that defines who we are, the classroom seems to be reduced to a stupor. Why is it that a bad explanation can make even the most interesting things seem worthless? I can see Mutou deflate as he realizes that nothing he said in the past half hour is sunk in. Whispered conversations start to break the silence, and like an avalanche, the noise level in the class starts to rise. Defeated, Mutou identifies some questions from the textbook and sets to clearing off the blackboard. Almost as if expected, Hanako packs up her things and leaves as soon as possible. Leaves as soon as people start talking and laughing among themselves. The initial shock of seeing someone play so blatantly truant has started to fade, but it doesn't stop me from wondering. Is she leaving because she doesn't want people to speak to her, or is it just the thought of people around her shattering her peace? Before I can think about the topic any further, the lunch bells ring. I wonder if she was simply taking the opportunity to leave early. The usual clamor of students exchanging books for lunch reverberates around the room, and while Misha is distracted, I grab my lunch and head out the door. Lily already sits in the tea room, setting out her lunch alone.
Oh, Hanako's not here then.
Oh, Hisao, how are you? I haven't met Hanako since this morning, I'm afraid.
That's right, Hanako and Lily live next to each other. Somehow I think their morning conversations are slightly more grounded than Kenji's ramblings.
That's strange. She left class early, so I figured that she'd come here.
So she's still leaving class early.
Huh? Yeah, I've seen her do it a few times.
Lily drops her head a little and her tone of voice is notably depressed. It's very reminiscent of someone who's used to hearing bad news.
I was so sure she'd stop doing that once you two became friends. Everyone has their own pace, I suppose.
Well, I was wondering about just that today. Why exactly does she leave?
I'm not entirely sure myself. I personally think it's because she doesn't want to be put in a situation where she has to answer someone.
I have a flashback of my first meeting with her when I thought she looked like a cornered animal. Maybe I wasn't far from the truth.
She does seem fine with talking to you, and with me, a bit.
It's a little more complex than that. I imagine that the first thing that most people ask her about is her scars, and what happened. She rarely talks about it with me, but I can tell that she doesn't like to remember whatever happened back then. Leaving class and running away from discussions is a preemptive strike, if you will.
Oh. So then how does that explain her talking to me?
You said it yourself yesterday at breakfast. You tried to ignore her scars. Once she saw that you weren't going to ask her about that, she opened herself up to you.
By the way, Fugi's finally working.
Cool. I guess you're right. Maybe. I don't know. You know her better than I, so I'll take your word for it.
I wouldn't worry about that. I'm sure you'll come to know her as well as I do soon enough. I welcome the prospect of having a new friend, and the two of you have such similar interests.
Well, I hardly count reading as a team sport. It is good to have company, though.
That's my point. Hanako is still an average person at heart. She also wants company at times like that.
Huh, I see. I think. To be honest, both of you still confuse me a little.
That's only natural, Hisao. We've only known each other for a little while. It's unreasonable to expect you to understand us, just as we can't understand you. But that is half the fun of becoming friends, right?
Yes it is.
Although, I suppose there's a matter of us being opposite genders. Men and women do seem to confuse each other quite often.
She says this with a light giggle, finding amusement at the odd little details of life.
I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to start eating.
No, go ahead. I think I'll eat something too. I've got some books I want to drop back at the library before classes start, so I'd better get a move on.
You'll probably find Hanako there as well. If you do see her, can you tell her to stop by my room later tonight? I'd like to talk to her.
You're not coming?
Unfortunately, I have a class representatives meeting later, so I'll be gone as soon as I finish my lunch.
Okay then. If I don't see her in the library, then I'll tell her in class. I'm sure she'll be back after lunch.
We fall silent as we start to eat, and I take a second to reflect on our conversation. I've always thought that Hanako's shyness was simply due to her being self-conscious of her scars. But that is a pretty superficial way of looking at her. Just when I thought I was able to see through the fog of Lily and Hanako, I realized that I'm more lost than when I started. Lily quickly finishes her lunch, acutely aware of her meeting. I don't blame her. Shizune is most likely going to be there, and I doubt she wants to give her the satisfaction of another argument.
I must be off. Same time tomorrow?
Same time, same channel. I'd better head off too. I don't want to risk being late.
Lily smiles, gently picks up her cane, and walks out into the hall. I turn my back on Lily as we head in opposite directions. For some reason, I find myself hoping she doesn't get into another fight with Shizune. As much as I like Lily, Shizune must have been pretty instrumental in helping me adjust, even if half of our conversations are thinly veiled recruitment attempts. Then again, I barely know either of them. Maybe they were previously leaders of some kind of secret society, but their love for each other drove them apart. Man, I need to stop reading cheap fiction. It's running my brain. Either that or I've got to move away from Kenji and his bad influence. It's sad that I can't tell the two apart anymore. I slam my books down the return chute and they crash into the car with a pleasant thud. Yuko, however, doesn't seem as impressed as I.
Hisao, you scared me.
Sorry, I thought you'd be used to that by now. Or is the literacy level here so low that nobody borrows any books?
No, I think everyone here can read fine.
Yeah, never mind.
There are some battles that you can never win. Trying to explain jokes is one of them. My dad taught me that the hard way.
Say, Yuko, have you seen Hanako about? She left class early, but she wasn't in her usual hiding place.
I think I saw her sneak in before lunch. Oh, but I'm not supposed to tell anyone that.
I just told you that I saw her leave. No need to stress out.
Oh, of course. She's probably in the back.
Thanks. Got any new books recently?
No, sorry. I'll let you know when we do, though.
Okay.
If there's one thing I know about librarians, part-time or otherwise, it's that they appreciate people who take a genuine interest in their work. I walk the now familiar path to Hanako's reading nook, picking out a few titles along the way. Sometimes I find it hard to discover a book that'll interest me among the shelves. An author's name and a two-word title don't mean much in a sea of similar words. For that reason, I sometimes reread books that I read in the past. Better to bet on the favorite than a new runner. An unfamiliar title from a familiar author peeks out among the spines of its neighbors, so I remove it from the shelf. At least I'm not going over old material. As I expected, Hanako sits on her beanbag, buried deep in a copy of Dance, Dance, Dance.
Hi, Hanako. How's it going?
I fight back the urge to ask why she left class early. If Lizz's suspicions were right, then asking her about that could have the opposite effect. Best to leave it for the time being. Sometimes the best way to get an answer from someone is to never ask the question.
Hello, Hisao. I'm fine.
Something seems off, and after a couple of seconds I realize what it is. Hanako's smiling. She looks as if she's pleased to see me. It's a nice change from the usual instinctively frightened reaction, something I hope I can see more of as we get to know each other better.
Here. How's that book? I heard it's a trip.
It's good, I think. I've only just started it, so I don't really know.
Fair enough. Let me know how it goes. I may borrow it once you're done.
Sure.
There's a good 15 minutes left in lunch. Not enough to really get into a book, but too much to stand around doing nothing. And Hanako's already returned from reading, so I doubt I'll get much conversation from her. Oh well, I better make myself comfortable. I slouch into a beanbag and crack open my book. The familiar style of the author leaps out at me from the very first line. As the sentences turn into paragraphs, I start to relax a little. But no matter how hard I try, I can't seem to get myself into the atmosphere of the book. This is partly due to lack of time, but the more distracting factor is Hanako. Every 10 or so seconds, she peers over the top of her book, but when her eyes meet, she quickly ducks behind the covers. I guess she did want to talk about something after all.
What's up? You look like a prairie dog on lookout.
It's nothing.
I've told you before, nothing means something when you say it like that.
Hanako squirms a little in her beanbag, hoping that by changing the position, she'll find the word she's looking for.
I was in an accident.
Accident? Just now? Are you alright?
Should probably turn the music up for this little exchange.
Disable adult content.
Thank you for reminding me again.
Mm-hmm.
But you didn't disable it by default?
I was, yeah, because that's totally the point of this VN, but, I should have done that in the beginning setup, but I was like, oh, I'm forgetting something. There's what I forgot. Thank you, Mr. Hero.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
Did you read that line already, or,
I can read it again. Accident? Just now? Are you alright?
Hanako shakes her head, her hair flowing around her shoulders in wisps of amethyst on a background of pale and dark flesh.
No. When I was younger.
Realization crashes into me like a semi.
When I was...
Alright, Hanako. You don't have to tell me anything if you don't want to.
Still not loud enough. It's a good song, give me a break. Again, she shakes her head.
No, I have to tell you. When I was young, I was in a fire.
Okay, too loud. There we go.
My house burned down and I nearly didn't make it. After that, I was alone.
Hanako's eyes glisten in the dim light of the library, and I reach out to grasp her hand.
It's okay, Hanako. You don't have to keep going.
But I have to.
Why? What brought this on?
Last night, Lily told me about your heart. And I didn't think it was fair.
Fair?
That I knew about you, but you didn't know about me.
I squeeze Hanako's hand a little.
Be silly. But yes, I have a heart condition.
I lean a little closer to Hanako.
What I didn't tell Lily is that I had my first attack when a girl confessed to me.
I smile a little to break the tension.
Really?
Really? I haven't heard from her for a while though, so I guess it's all over.
I know it's all over. There's no other way to interpret what happened the last time I saw her. In some ways, not having heard from her again has helped me move on from that period of my life.
So now, we both know a little more about each other. But you don't have to talk about things if you don't want to.
In fact, I feel a little bad even thinking about that whole incident. I can almost smell the hospital's disinfectant burning the back of my sinuses again. I imagine Hanako's going through the same thing now. When I was in the hospital, I went to the burn ward once, and only once. I was bored, so I went for a walk through all the wards. I went through oncology and thought I could take it, but when I got to the burn ward, I turned around and went back to my bed. To think that Hanako could have spent months in a place like that, smelling nothing but corrupted skin, strong disinfectant, and sterilized air. The really bad cases were kept in isolated pods that no foreign objects could enter. That would have meant no reading. I would have gone insane if I didn't have my books in the hospital. And she said she was alone. Did her parents die? Well, let's ask Lily about it. I can imagine myself saying something dumb unintentionally.
Thank you, Hisao. I haven't told many people about this.
To be honest, I haven't told many people about my circumstances either.
Then I won't tell anyone either.
Deal.
I changed my grip on Hanako's hand into a handshake as the warning bells chimed through the window.
Well then, we better head back to class then, eh?
Sure.
Okay, that scene was like 2,000 times more intense than I remember it being. Oh, boy.
I started getting misty-eyed.
Same.
Same.
Absolute same.
Aww.
And the feels only get more intense from here, so, I think, this might be a good time to call a bit of an intermission, huh?
Yeah.
Because I certainly need a breather after that.
Same.
So, thank you all for being with us so far, and we, thank you in advance for your patience. 15-minute intermission. 15 minutes, how's that sound?
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Fantastic. Alright, so, thank you all again very much. We'll be back in 15 minutes. Please bear with us. I'll, put on a song from the OST as per usual, and, we'll, see you in a moment. And we're back. Thank you all for bearing with us.
Hi.
Hello.
So yeah, I believe we've all recovered from the heart-ripping last scene. So, who's ready for more of the same?
I am for
I'm not ready.
sure.
Not ready.
I hope so, because, like I said, it only gets more intense from here. Alright, let's get started. The tint of the room slowly changes from the shine of the afternoon to the orange of dusk. A clock lazily ticks away the seconds, counting in the background on the verge of hearing. But no matter how long I wait, the outcome can't be changed. Oh, there is no BJ in the scene, that's right. Anyway. The diminutive playing piece makes a small click against the board. Like a wound spring, Hanako makes her move only moments after mine. It's embarrassing. In comparison to my 5-minute moves, she seems to know exactly what she wants to do.
Me.
I get... Oh, whoops.
Again? Again? What does that make this? 3-2?
Should probably turn the music down. There we go. Alright,
Stalemates don't count.
Damn. You're getting better at this every day.
that or she's been holding back. I'd never have thought it when I first met her, but she really has a knack for this game. Chess seems to have become a popular pastime for the two of us, hiding away in the tea room, playing a game or two after class. From here, the students outside can just barely be heard milling about. The everyday noises from the below remind me a little of my life before Yamaku. Though by now I'm well aware it's a life I'll never get back to.
Fancy another game?
I have to finish my homework.
Oh, well, I'll see you tomorrow then.
But what about this?
Hanako points to the tea set surrounding the mostly emptied chessboard.
Don't worry about that. I've got it.
Oh, okay. See you.
Later.
Hanako departs as I start cleaning up the area. The occasional whistles and cheers from the sporting clubs outside has become less frequent, eventually approaching silence. A part of me still wants to be in some kind of team. Since I played soccer and other sports before my accident, I guess it's only normal to feel nostalgic about what I can't do anymore. But I have no other reasons than that for my coming here so often, and I don't feel so bad about losing that part of myself because of them. Well, there's a good friend by now, but it's the small exchanges I have with Hanako that feel especially dear. The small victories I feel every day as I see more of what she's like under her self-imposed shell. That's why I come here most of all. As I'm putting away cups and saucers, I hear her talking outside the door. Pausing for a moment to listen, I can make out that it's Hanako and Lillian decide to go outside to investigate.
Are you quite sure?
I'm sure. Ah, Hisao.
Hanako turns to see me with a look of mild surprise as she notices my approach. Lily must have caught her just as she was about to leave.
Oh my, Hisao is here too?
Good noon, Lily. What's up?
I was hoping that I finished my class representative duties for the day, but I might have the two of you accompany me for tea at the Shanghai. It would be nice to enjoy ourselves at the school for a change.
I'd be up for it. I think Hanako had work to do, though?
It's not all that much.
Wonderful. It seems that we're decided then.
I cast my eyes across the cafe as the three of us step in. It's usual there are only a handful of people around at most, and the noise level is a quiet background hum. The hold Lily has on Hanako's arm remains just as it had been for the entire slow walk down the hill to a local town, though it's hard to say for which reason, for Lily's guidance or Hanako's reassurance. For a moment, Lily removes her arm from Hanako's to retract her cane as Yuko quickly skitters over to where we stand, but soon replaces it right back to where it had been.
Welcome to the Shanghai. May I take your order?
She gives a deep bow, her well-delivered and professional introduction putting her in a good mood. It's a nice change from the norm for Yuko.
Tea. Hanako, Isao?
I'll have a slice of pie and a coffee.
Just tea, please. Coming right up. Please take any seat you wish, and I'll be back shortly.
Yuko gives a smile and a nod before shuffling on the counter, and we make our way to some empty seats by the window in quick measure. We slip into our seats, the girls on one side with Lily's cane propped up beside them, and I on the other. I realize that Hanako's not doing something that she so often does. Rather than keeping her eyes pinned to the ground and hiding behind her blind escort, busily trying to convince herself that the world around them doesn't exist, she's merely keeping her eyes low and helping Lily around.
Are you okay, Lily? You look tired.
She lowers her head a little, looking somewhat embarrassed that she let it show.
Class representative work can be very tiring considering that often he's dealing with the student council. Very tiring indeed.
How do the other representatives go?
Aye, but not by much. Shizune is a harsh taskmaster no matter whom she deals with.
Doesn't sound like you particularly relish the job. Why do you do it in the first place if it's that bad?
Being a class representative is enjoyable, and I can deal with the responsibility well enough. It's just that the people involved are sometimes...
She trails off, cutting her words at a rather opportune spot. It's hard to imagine Lily cursing, but I imagine if anyone could make her do so, it would be Shizune. Hanako looks to be withering a bit in the light of such conflict, but before I can steer the topic away a little, she stands up.
Hanako?
I'll be back in a bit.
With that, she leaves for the restrooms. I suppose it's one way to deal with the situation, if that was indeed her motivation. Lily, however, looks a little wounded.
Don't worry about it. I don't think it was you.
But...
I think she's been getting stronger recently. You've seen it yourself, right?
That went a bit awry. Fortunately, Lily doesn't look offended, and by now I really shouldn't be quite so scared of stepping on that landmine around her.
possibly. Sometimes I find it hard to tell, though.
Silence reigns for a moment before 2 teacups, a pie, and a mug of steaming coffee appear in front of us. I notice that Yuko takes special care to place a teacup against the tip of Lily's fingers, letting her know where it is.
Here you go.
Thanks, Yuko.
Thank you.
With a quick and silent bow, the bespectacled waitress takes her leave.
Oh, that's right. I was meaning to ask you something, and now would be the right time to do so.
I'm all ears.
Hanako's birthday's coming up, and I was hoping that you might accompany me for present shopping in the city this weekend.
Hanako's birthday is soon? I suppose it would be a nice chance to cheer her up a bit. Like Yuko, she always seems to be teetering on the edge of either panic or depression, and I've never seen her enjoy herself much outside of our chess games. All that aside, learning the layout of the city better with a friend keeping me company sounds like a good way to spend a weekend.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Have you got any plans for what to do for her birthday? A party or anything?
Hanako being Hanako, perhaps a low-key affair would be...
Lily suddenly cuts herself short, leaving me to wonder why as she brings her teacup to her lips and begins to sip. After a few seconds, I notice Hanako walking up to us over her shoulder. Lily's hearing must be very good indeed if it was to the sound of the restroom door opening that tipped her off. Hanako takes her seat once again and wastes no time in drinking her tea. Soon the three of us are quietly eating and drinking as the sun sets. It's a nice way to spend the remainder of the day's light, and it makes you appreciate the quiet and serene surroundings of Yomaku. I think I'm really beginning to like life here, as isolated as it may be. I finish off the last of my coffee and rest the mug on the table while the girls talk between themselves. The coffee here is a little bitter for my taste, but still quite good. Better than what I can make for myself in any case. The girls' discussion is mainly focused on their respective reading preferences, which does give me a little curiosity about a related topic.
Hey, Hanako. I was just wondering, aside from chess and reading, do you have any hobbies or things you like doing?
She's completely stopped in her tracks, looking quite surprised that anyone would be interested in asking such a question about her. It takes a little time to formulate a response.
I guess I like singing a little. I'm okay with computers as well, but I don't use them all that much.
Singing's not exactly something I expected to hear. It's hard to imagine her singing voice given how soft-spoken she is. Lily, on the other hand, simply nods. She must already know all this, since she's been friends with Hanako for a year or so by now.
What about you?
Me?
She hesitates before quickly flicking her head up and down. It's only logical that you want me to talk about my hobbies after she told me hers.
There's chess, obviously, but also... There was soccer as well, though I can't really do that anymore. Reading, which I picked up in the hospital.
This is surprisingly hard. Lily and Hanako look a little put off by the direction this is taking, and the more I think about it, the more I am too.
It sounds as if you've picked up quite a few things after... It sounds since... sorry.
It's contagious, I'm sorry.
It sounds as if you picked up quite a few things since your accident.
Lily's candor is courted with probably the most positive spin one can put on what I said. Hanako, however, is silent. If a situation becomes difficult, her reaction always seems to be withdrawing into silence in order to prevent things getting worse. That or physically retreating. A soft ringing gives us pause. As Lily reaches into her pocket, it becomes obvious that the sound's coming from her phone.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Lily gives a quick nod before shuffling out of her seat and taking the call a little distance away to avoid disturbing the both of us. Oh, that's not good.
Hello?
Uh-oh.
Hello? Uh-oh.
OBS is going yellow and red.
Haha, oopsie.
No, yellow lights for a second. Really bad. Not good.
Yeah, I noticed he was... Hello?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Are you...
I hope.
Okay. I think you cut out for a bit.
Yeah, my OBS is going apeshit a bit, but looks like it's recovering now. As long as it didn't kill the stream, that's all I care about.
Let's see. This.
We're still technically live, by the
stream
way,
is-
so...
Yeah. Let me see. Let me refresh on my end. Okay. Yeah, we're good.
Alright. No, it says it's 0 kbps again. Okay, I'm going to close a window and hope that helps. Okay, hiked back up. Good. Excellent. So, I'll explain what happened in a bit. We're back live again, that's what matters. I think.
Cool.
Anyways, I'm gonna read the line over again just in case. Lily gives a quick nod before shuffling out of her seat and taking the call a little distance away to avoid disturbing the both of us.
Must be nice to be popular.
Hanako smiles but doesn't take up the hook for further discussion. I end up just sitting back and closing my eyes, relaxing as best I can.